of things that that I, along with some of my colleagues, really agreed with. But again, it goes through the appropriations process. So based on what the governor recommends, the budget's not going to look anything like that. And so the changes that are going to be made, the House Republicans, they're pushing through their budgets that cut general fund revenue as if they, the cut, so if people were paying attention, there was the push for the cut of the income tax here in the state of Michigan. So they're pushing to actually do away with the income tax, and then they were trying to roll back the income tax. Thankfully, it was defeated. I, as well as everyone else, we want to put money back in taxpayers' pockets, but you got to do it in a fiscally responsible way. There would have been a $9 billion budget hole out of a 50-something billion dollar budget. And then how are we supposed to fix our roads? How are we supposed to invest in our communities? How are we supposed to invest in our students in the state if there's that big hole in the budget?
Proud to be here with the mayor, who I'm sure that you know that Mayor McClellan is definitely all over the place all of the time. And I say that with pride. And I'm hoping that when she gets up, she's going to absolutely acknowledge the same, that this is probably our highest peak where Oak Park schools and the city of Oak Park are one. And City Manager Tungate, the same. It's just one. If Director Cooper was here, we'd say one. That's just how we operate. When you say Oak Park, it's Oak Park. And it's the city, the schools, it's the residents, it's the families, it's everybody. So Oak Park Schools has a different dynamic. I'm not sure you are aware, but Oak Park Schools is definitely made up of children from all over the state of Michigan. When you say that, you're like, no, do you just mean Oakland County and Wayne County? No. I mean Oakland, Wayne, Macomb, Genesee. Genesee? Well, here's why. Oak Park Schools is made up of 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 traditional high school, 1 discipline academy that serves students from grades 3 through 11, a alternative school that is a career-focused alternative education center with a $1 million kitchen in it, has building trades. It looks just like OTEC, Oakland Schools Technical Center, but yet it sits in the city of Oak Park, and it's the old Lessinger Elementary School. And inside you'll find building trades, you'll find hair and nail culture, you'll find technology, you'll find medical assistant, career opportunities, you'll find a hub for colleges and universities, you'll find a culinary kitchen that looks like the same kitchen that's at the Oakland Schools Technical Center. A lot of people don't know that. It's called Oak Park Alternative Education Center. It's located at 12901 Albany Street, and it has been there since January of 2011. So we have Oak Park Alternative Education Center for students ages 16 through 19. And then we have Oak Park Virtual Academy that actually has 2 students from Flint enrolled in it. So that's why I mentioned Genesee County. So when I say we have students from all over, they're all over. I can also give you a number that you'll say, oh, what did she just say? We also have 86% poverty. So I'll back up and then I'll breathe. But what I'll tell you is that is not to be said as an excuse, because it isn't. In Oak Park, we pride ourselves on providing opportunities for all students. We pride ourselves on providing students opportunities that will change their trajectory. Now, I need you to know that students in the city of Oak Park attend Oak Park School. So why is the poverty rate so high? Let me give you an example. So a household, and I can give you a real address, but I'll just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Scotia. I'll use that. Has 7 children in it, 1 income that totals $22,000. That's poverty. Because of the mouths that are in the house, because of the number in the household. So that household, although in the zip code is 48237, when the children are in school, they fall below the line, the poverty line. So there again, therein lies, we're at 86%. That's huge. So what does that really look like? That means my students will come to school, and many of them will come about 150 million, but really 150,000 words behind that kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. Literally words. I say million, but really it's about 150,000. They're words behind. Words behind because of gaps. Still doesn't mean that they can't learn. So now let me give you the flip side of that, now that I've given you the reality of who you're really looking at, the superintendent of Oak Park Schools, proud superintendent. So now let me tell you about Carlita Taylor. I'll just use her name. Carlita Taylor, Columbia University, 4.0, 28 on her ACT, 1,200 on her SAT. She was at the board meeting on Monday. She attends Oak Park School. But if I go back and look at poverty, she fits the mold. But did you hear what I just said? 4.0, 28 on her ACT, 1,200 on her SAT, 4-year full ride. Let me be clear, 4-year academic full ride. Columbia University is also one of my state track and field champions. So she's also a track star. But her scholarship is an academic scholarship. She attends Oak Park School.
Thank you very much. Listening to those two reports, I wish that the critics of public education could hear those reports. I wish Betsy DeVos could hear those reports. And to the teachers from your respective districts, to the administrators, we are reminded of the proverb, those who instruct many to justice shall shine as stars for all eternity.
So we're trying to find where that balance is. We're going to be implementing some focus groups to roll some ideas out to people about ways that we can encourage compatibility, reduce massing, and hopefully kind of reduce the tension between new houses and existing houses. Coming up in the summer of 2017 and 2018, we're going to be doing some road construction. The voters had passed the bond millage a couple years before I got there. We are at the very end of this bond. We're going to be doing some road work and some water main. Unfortunately, once that's done, the money is done, and we still have more roads left to do, so we are grappling with where to get money to do the roads. And on top of that, we're grappling with where to get money to do some sewer repairs. After the rain event that we had in 2014, we did a very aggressive sewer cleaning and televising program. We've identified some areas that need to be repaired, and it's quite expensive. So we're looking for money. Robert. And then lastly, I'll end on a good note. We are doing a major renovation to the park in the middle of town, Scotia Park. It's where we have our concerts in the park. It's where our 4th of July festivities end up. It's a park that basically doesn't have a lot of amenities, and the ground has been packed out so much over the years that there's no drainage there. So anytime it rains, we have to postpone any activities that are planned there because they're just too wet. So with a little bit of city funding, some donations, and some donations from the men's club from their auction, we're going to be able to totally re-engineer the park, bring in new fill, do some green infrastructure. We're going to be able to take water from the roads and divert them into rain gardens so it stays out of our sewer system, bring in some bike racks to promote physical activity, some park benches, and just have a really first-class, first-rate park in the middle of town. And so we're ending on a good note because we are really happy to, for that we have funding. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Here in Berkley, we have no idea what you're talking about when you're talking about housing and the compatibility. But maybe we can talk about it later and understand it better. And now we move along to the City of Oak Park and the distinguished Mayor, Marion McClellan.
Thank you, Mayor O'Dwyer. Mayor O'Dwyer and I both attended the Michigan Municipal League, the Capitol Conference in Lansing, and we both got the same horrific wake-up call. Not that we don't know things are bad, but we didn't maybe know we were the worst state in the union. The Michigan Municipal League has like a big room that they let right across from the Capitol, and they let all the legislators come and use that room for any event. And they blew up that graph really big and put it on the wall. And the new legislators said, well, I don't know, a couple times we've raised money for the cities. Yeah, we've lost 50% and you gave us back 3%. Thank you very much. That was fabulous. So the new legislators don't know the history. our voters for sure don't know the history. They don't know we're the worst state in the union as far as municipal financing goes. Evidenced by when I went to the schools in Reading Month, and the second graders wanted to know, are you rich? And do you live in a mansion? So I thought, we certainly need to inform our kids more about municipal funding. Today, I went to the Oak Park City Hall, which is now the mini art museum. That partnership just warms the cockles of my heart. There's nothing like warm cockles. The students have some outstanding teachers who must work 90 hours a week overtime in order to do what they've done. They have pictures. The kids are given 3 colors, red, yellow, and blue, and they make every color out of it. They have to mix all their colors. They learned how to draw a face to scale. They learned how to layer the colors, first do the light, then the medium areas, and then the dark areas. 4th grade, I didn't get that in college. It's so impressive. It is so impressive. And they just walk out there feeling just a little more proud. I went to the Oak Park High School Student Council meeting, and they had heard about the Detroit Jobs for Kids program and wanted to know, like, what about Oak Park and Berkley? Can we do that? Well, I know that was federally funded. There was some kind of federal grant to help Detroit, do that. But wouldn't that be marvelous if we could help our kids get a job?
Oh, good evening. I'm not going to talk your ear off. I'm only going to talk a little bit. So we've been in budget meetings for the last few weeks, as I know the other city managers are probably too. And as the superintendents and city managers and many of the rest of you know, this is a very enjoyable time of the year for me. I'm only 26 years old, and I look like I'm a little older. This is now my 5th budget with the city of Oak Park. And like Dr. Colbert said, with the school district, when I came there in the summer of 2012, we were a city that was in bad shape. And I won't go back through all of the instances of that, but I think many of you know that. We were headed off a cliff. We had long-term liabilities that were unfunded. Our operational budget was in a negative position, and the state had put us on their watch list. And we all know how great the state runs their budget, so we should be on their watch list, right? Since that time, so I'm going to go through a few things, and one of which talks about our rainy day fund, which is our fund balance, our general fund balance. We have an 18% general fund balance today. And for us, we're a $21 million general fund. For us, that's pretty good. But think about that. 18% of our budget is in a rainy day fund. That's 2.5 months worth of operations. That's the reality of where we are. And people think that's pretty good. We've got to make some changes. So a couple of things. We talked about 10 major initiatives at our State of the City address, which we held recently at City Hall. Talked about the rainy day fund, ice cream truck. How many of you heard about our public safety ice cream truck? Good. We are going to be building, and we bought, and we're going to be building an ice cream truck that my public safety officers will literally drive around the city and serve ice cream. And what is the reason for doing this? Well, what's better for public relations and building community support than ice cream? Public safety officers and ice cream, the trust begins. The third thing, we are, for the first time in the city's history, we're going to be adding a canine unit to our public safety department. Now, for many of you, that may not sound like a big deal. For me, that's a huge deal. We have borrowed Southfield's canine unit almost daily for years. And they haven't charged us a dime for it, by the way. But guess what? That's coming to an end. So we need our own. So we're going to have our own canine unit. And being that I'm from West Michigan, they told me it was a Dutch Shepherd. So I'm very happy with that. Number 4, we have instituted a traffic enforcement detail program. And what this means, generally speaking, is that I'm allowing officers to come in a few hours before or a few hours after their shift to do nothing more than enforce our traffic laws. And why is that important? Because what's the number one thing our residents complain about, Mayor? It's that the officers, there you go. So we're seeing, so don't speed in Oak Park. We'll get you, I promise. Number 5, how many of you noticed the sunflowers in the summertime in the city of Oak Park? We're gonna do that again, only a lot more, in a lot more places. The sunflowers are one of those things that cost us about, give or take, about $10,000. We used the classrooms, children were planting these and growing up the seedlings. We had some at City Hall. And the goodwill that we generate from that project is just, priceless, but fantastic. So you'll see those again. This may not sound very exciting to some of the folks, I think in Huntington Woods already has this, but recycling bins. We're gonna have, now how many of you know what a Herbie Kirby is? You ever hear of this, the Herbie Kirby? That's a West Michigan thing, I think, but it's the dumpster on wheels with a lid, only it's gonna be a recycling bin like that. We're getting those this summer. We're very excited about that. We are going to be pursuing the Coolidge and 696 Bridge, overpass I should say. We're going to be redoing that aesthetically so that it's a little bit more appealing. It's in a very attractive baby blue. Matches the sky on some days. Not a lot of days recently, but we're going to be doing a very, very sharp paint job of that. And for those of you that ever painted a water tower, you know that they're very, very expensive. In fact, when I heard the price of this thing, I about went through the roof. But about $150,000 to sandblast and paint, and we had a guy inside of it doing it all and fixing it up because we store water in there on off-peak times to save our taxpayers money. We also have a water reservoir in the city of Oak Park. Many people don't know about it. We do the same thing with that, underground. One of our other big projects, number 9 here, is we are going to be redoing 9 Mile Road from our Ferndale border all the way to our Southfield border. And so if you've seen what Ferndale has done, it's going to look very similar. And we're, for all intents and purposes, we're going to be getting rid of 2 traffic lanes of roadway. We have 5 lanes on 9 Mile Road for 9,000 cars a day. Doesn't make sense. Overbuilt, over-engineered. And so we're going to be building, with the lanes we're taking away on either side, we're going to be building a linear park with bike trails and pop-up parks and all these amenities that are, if you want to see a rendering of it, you can go on our website. And that project we're expecting to begin very soon. Which brings me to my last one, which is pop-up pocket parks. Yes, we'll have these in the 9 Mile corridor, but just this past week, we had a pop-up park at Sherman and 9 Mile. And we're doing something similar to what the city of Berkley is doing, is they're testing out some of these closures of these roads coming into the main thoroughfares. And we just redid our master plan in-house, I might add, which saves us a tremendous amount of money. And the new master plan calls for pop-up parks like that and road closures like that all throughout the city, including on 9 Mile. So let me just breeze through. Those are the 10 things we talked about in our State of the City address, but let me breeze through a couple of other things. Future things. We are trying to become a AA rated city. Right now we're single A. And I'm pretty proud of it, I'll be honest with you. But I'm not there yet. And when we become AA, of course, everyone knows we can bond against our unfunded long-term liabilities, and we will do just that. We're about 60% funded in our public safety and our general retirement pension systems, and that's not good enough. We also will be installing, DTE will be installing, LED street lights in every lamp in the entire city. So all of the lights will be replaced with LED to the tune of about $625,000, which will save us, once installed, it'll save us about $150,000 a year. So about a 4-year payback, give or take. So yeah, hate putting the money out there, right? But 7 years from now, we're going to say, thank God we did that. And they're all dark sky compliant and so forth. I think, one more. We also, and this is something that doesn't get a lot of attention because it's an internal thing. We are going to be instituting a city-wide health and wellness program. And so this includes, I have 191 employees, and this includes healthy vending machines throughout the city government. So the soda's gone, candy bars are gone. We have a brand new fitness facility we have constructed next to our new city hall. And we will also be participating with the city of Ferndale and the city of Hazel Park on a public wellness center where our employees can go for no copay and see a doctor. Well, why does that make sense for us? Because right now we pay about, if they go see a private doctor, we see about, and these are routine, they're not going there for surgery or things like that. But right now we pay about $150 on a visit on average. To go to the public health clinic, we will pay about $90. So the difference there over the course of the long haul is a tremendous savings. So we're very excited about that. I lied, one more thing. We will be, City Council just approved a recreation interlocal agreement with the city of Hazel Park, which means Ferndale, Hazel Park, and Oak Park are now joint cities in our recreation programs. Very excited about that. I'm very proud to serve in my role, and I'm very happy for the invitation tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. And you will note the level of collaboration amongst all of the cities, those represented here and the ones that you mentioned, Eric. And I think the public haven't a clue that such collaboration occurs between communities and cities. And I think it's a wonderful thing.
I am extremely grateful to be in the city of Berkeley. I've been here 10 months now, and it's been just a phenomenal journey. And so I'm happy to report some of the things that we've had going on that we're really excited about. But Berkeley's a community, like many in this room, who face challenges. One of our challenges that we face moving forward is that we have not adequately invested in the infrastructure of the city of Berkeley. I see many heads starting to nod and shake here, and we know what the last 10 years was like, and while our revenues weren't there, our pipes are still in the ground, our buildings were still aging, so the city of Berkeley's hitting this head on. We actually convened a council of 15 residents, our Citizens Advisory Committee on Building and Infrastructure, to actually go through, and they have done a phenomenal amount of job absorbing a lot of the information that we use on a daily basis, but sometimes, as Eric said, we keep that in-house. So we actually spent a lot of time, this wonderful group of people met every other Monday in this room for 2 months, getting the quickest education you can imagine on municipal finance and the problems that we face, the issues that the disinvestment from the state. All of these things that meant the communities they love and many of them have lived in for decades is challenged in a lot of ways. So they met with the city council on March 20th and actually laid down a set of several recommendations on how to move forward, not only with the building you sit in here, but also our city hall right across the parking lot there, our ice arena, as many of you may have read recently, that no longer produces ice. Probably the most vital function an ice arena does. And then also our community center, which is a building that does amazing things and puts out amazing programs, but it does so despite of the condition and despite of not having a lot of space to fulfill those programs. Nonetheless, our summer program this year, our summer camp, actually had the highest number of attendees this year than they have had any year in the past. They had almost 160 kids come through that small building and make their summer one of the really memorable kind of summers by hanging out with many, many other kids from all over the place, not just Berkeley kids.